Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our June 10th Planning Commission meeting. We'll open this meeting at 6 p.m. Oh. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call a roll.
Commissioner Knighton?
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Holler is absent, and Chair Madrid.
Here. Ron, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ron. So I see there's no presentations tonight. Madam Clerk, are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay. Can I ask the Planning Commission for an all in favor to approve the agenda?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Okay, that takes us to item 10.1. Could the Community Development Director please introduce this? Did I skip pages? Oops, excuse me. Oh,
Yeah, item 6, public
just testing you guys, see if you're listening. Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
There are none.
Okay. Okay, approval of the minutes. There is one set of minutes for the Planning Commission's approval. Does the Planning Commission have any modifications? Could I ask the Planning do we have any modifications? No?
No mods.
Okay. So can I ask the Planning Commission for an all in favor to approve the May 28th, 2025 minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Hearing none opposed, minutes are approved. There are no consent calendar items. There are no public hearing items. Now we're at 10.1. So this is item 10.1. Could the Community Development Director please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. As promised, we did promise the Commission that we were going to bring back this discussion item. It was requested a few meetings back from the Commission, so we did present this to Council a few weeks ago. There was some good discussion and dialogue between Council members and staff, so we're here to report a little bit on AB 98 as well, and Doug Darnell will do the presentation today.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Doug Darnell, Principal Planner. I'm pleased to present this informational discussion item to the Commission this evening, which is an overview of AB 98. I'll cover its key components and implications for Menifee. AB 98 is, while AB 98 is quite complicated, I'll do my best to be clear and as concise as possible for the Commission. So AB 98 was signed into law September 2024. It's intended to address impacts of logistics development across the state, but has a particular focus on the Inland Empire region. The law imposes minimum distance requirements between logistics facilities and sensitive uses, which are referred to in the law as sensitive receptors. And per the law, sensitive receptors include residential, child care, parks, schools, hospitals, and other similar uses. The bill essentially came about because of the high number of logistics uses within the Inland Empire in communities close to us, such as Paris, Moreno Valley, etc. And here in the aerial photo, here's a real-world example of several logistics warehouses adjacent to and surrounding schools, homes, and other sensitive uses. So the intent of the new law is mainly to address air quality noise, and traffic impacts to communities heavily impacted by logistics. Here's how AB 98 defines a logistics use. So it's essentially large warehouse facilities where products are moved and stored for later distribution with high volume of heavy-duty trucks for movement of cargo and goods. In general, AB 98 applies to logistics uses where loading bay doors would be located within 900 feet of the property line of a sensitive receptor. Here, this map shows jurisdictions within the AB 98 warehouse concentration region. So this is the area the legislation focuses on. These are the jurisdictions that have a proliferation of large warehouse facilities and big rig trucks, where the requirements are more stringent for these areas. I would note that Menifee is not included in this concentration region. This shows you the basic loading bay setback and buffer standards for logistics uses. The standards vary based on 4 different categories shown here. So starting first with category 1, this would be logistics 250,000 square feet or more, where the existing site is zoned for industrial, allowing for logistics uses. And for that category, there's a setback requirement of 300 feet. That's from property line of the nearest sensitive receptor to nearest truck loading bay. Also, there's a 50-foot landscape buffer width requirement. This would be a fully landscaped area adjacent to the sensitive receptor with berming, walls, and heavily planted trees for screening. Then category 2 would be 250,000 square feet or more, sites that are not zoned for industrial, meaning if a logistics use wanted to come on that site, they'd have to rezone the property to allow for it. So the requirement is different. And this is also within 900 feet of the sensitive receptor. It would require, it would increase the loading bay setback to 500 feet. And then landscape buffer increases to 100 feet. And then category 3, it's the same as requirements are the same as category 2, but it doesn't apply to us because that's for the concentration region. And then finally, category 4, logistics uses less than 250,000 square feet. No loading bay setback requirement, but there is still a buffer requirement of 50 feet from us along next to a sensitive receptor. So in addition to those requirements,
I got one question on that previous slide.
sure. Oh, pardon me.
Yeah, there you go. Is there any property in Menifee that falls in the category 2? That's not zoned industrial?
I would say potentially.
Okay.
Commissioner, the short answer is yes, right? I mean, there could be any property that is not zoned industrial that a potential developer would want to develop it as industrial, and it would require a zone change, right? Obviously, most likely staff would not be in support, obviously, at that point. There could be some maybe business park zone property that doesn't allow warehousing that, could potentially make sense. But again, it really depends on the area and what's around it.
Not likely, but still a possibility.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on, other requirements, and these are requirements for new or expanded logistics uses. Just to give you the definition of what would be an expanded logistics use, that is basically an increase of 20% or more of an existing logistics warehouse floor area. And there's a multitude of requirements, but these are kind of the key ones shown here, such as 2-to-1 replacement. If a proposed logistics development comes in and there needs to be demo of existing residential structures, they need to replace those structures 2-to-1. There's also minimum truck stacking depth for entry gates, and this is based on the number of loading bays. So the more loading bays, the more truck stacking depth needed. In addition, anti-idling signs at site entrances and truck exit driveways. Also, the operator must submit a truck routing plan to the city for review. The plan must identify routes that avoid sensitive receptors to the greatest extent possible. Other provisions of AB 98 require updates to the circulation elements of general plans. And this would be as needed to establish truck routes that avoid sensitive receptors. And this would be, they'd need to identify routes that are primarily on the road, type of roads shown here, but preferably arterial roads and major thoroughfares. For Menifee, this required general plan update must be adopted no later than January 1st, 2028. Concentration region jurisdictions have a shorter time frame. They have to get it done by January 1st, 2026. So more difficult for them. Also, so in conclusion, AB 98 has major implications, and such as increase in development costs for logistics projects. It might prevent redevelopment of existing logistics uses. Could prohibit logistics use if it is unable to meet the requirements of AB 98. AB 98 was rushed through the legislature last year, so there are a number of cleanup and clarifications needed, and as a result, there's 2 subsequent bills that are moving forward right now to address those issues, issues with unclear and conflicting requirements and definitions. And then finally, the Western Riverside Council of Governments is providing technical assistance and support to jurisdictions in the Western Riverside County region to help with navigating the law, and they are also working with the legislators for more clarity and flexibility in the law. So with that, this concludes my report, and staff's prepared to answer questions of the commission.
Thank you, Principal Planner Doug Darnell. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff?
I do.
Chris?
Could you pull up, could IT pull up the EDC North Gate, the Northern Center, where all the, could we have them, and we can look at, I had some questions about some parcels on there, how this would affect those.
Do we have It's not, yeah, it's not in the
Can you hear us,
presentation,
IT?
if they could get Google Maps up of the area, that might,
I hear something say Google
or
Maps in there.
GIS.
It'd be nice to everybody look at it together. Are they working on it?
I don't know.
I'm messaging them right now.
While they're working on that, for Doug, I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, for the redevelopment aspect of it, if I know that you're gonna we're gonna revisit the, oh gosh, it's escaping me right now. The new plans for the, economic corridor. And I noticed that on one of the maps, it said redevelopment of warehouses. Would that impact those plans? Are you
Talking about
following me?
The presentation they did? the other
Yeah,
day?
yeah, the one we were all tired on.
Oh,
And we embraced
we're-
with
we're-
such
we're-
love.
Okay, we're talking about the Menifee Innovation District specific, okay. No, and in fact, I mean, currently, that's the Southern Gateway Economic Development Corridor. Currently, the logistics warehouse development is not allowed there, and that would not be part of the vision we want to accomplish for that specific plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I guess everyone can see the Google, can you guys see the Google map? Everybody see it?
Mhm.
So I don't think this shows all the current projects on there, but for example, okay, so there's something there on, just to the right of Evans and to the left of Evans all has projects, I believe, already booked there. And then to the left of Hull Street. So basically, see all the housing that's, there you go. So Floyd Avenue to the left of Hull. If anything of over 250 wants to go in there, they would have to purchase that I'm phrasing a question. They would have to purchase the property and then find other housing to replace it in another location? Is that basically what this rule says?
That's part of the requirements, yes.
Okay. So
At a 2-to-1 ratio.
at a 2-to-1 ratio. So I guess my question is, we have, if there was a map that showed the current approved warehouses, plus there's a couple, I think the law said, I was reading it said, if they've already applied their grandfather, they don't apply to this, right? How many warehousing projects in the Northern Gateway do we have that have applied that we haven't seen yet?
I'll walk you through the corridor and let you know what has been approved and what's currently under review. If I can have IT zoom out a little bit more, and so it covers from Barnett, although right there, that right there is fine. Okay, so we have the 250,000 square foot warehouses along Barnett, just south of Itenek. That's called the fill-in project.
They're approved or?
They're approved. That was
Yeah.
the very first project that got approved.
Yeah, we've seen them, they're good to go.
Yeah, they probably were approved maybe close to 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I think that was the first one that got approved. The second project that got approved is the Cato project. And that's roughly a 700,000 square foot warehouse. And that's west of Byers, south of Cuffle Road. Okay. That's correct. That's correct. So, there you go. Okay. So, 174, that's fill-in. Okay. Number one is Cato. Okay. And that's already approved. That's the second one. The third one that got approved is, it's 210 on the east side, that one. Okay. Yeah. That one, that was just approved a couple meetings ago. Okay. Now Erie's warehouse, which is the one in the middle, 196, that one came before the commission again a few months ago, and this is the one that the commission denied. And that's it. Yeah, that's the one on Marietta. And the applicant appealed the project, and it went to council. And council basically gave him an opportunity for the applicant to go back and have additional meetings with the residents, specifically the residents to the north side, and see if they could try to work some of the concerns that the residents have. So, again, we have 3 projects that are approved. This one is not approved yet, so if we can zoom out again. So Erie's not approved. The big one that you see there, that's Panatone. That was gonna be a really big one, and they put that project on hold probably 3 years ago, and we haven't heard anything from them at all. So
Are they, because they applied and put it on hold, are they?
they're still grandfathered into
Before the September date.
correct.
And the same with Aries.
And same with Aries,
I have a
correct.
question. How long does the grandfathering last? Is there-
Until the project gets either withdrawn, approved, or denied.
Can those maps run out, though? So say they get, you get a warehouse approved, there
the-
is a lifetime on it.
There is an expiration of 3 years that the commission grants. There is an opportunity to do a 1-year extension. So technically, and it's not automatic, so it really depends, assuming they're going through the process and they're seeking plan check approval, then, and if they're running short on time, we would grant an extension, but if they haven't done anything for 3 years, then it's possible that we wouldn't grant the extension.
So what's the light blue stuff on the southwest?
That's actually residential.
Okay.
That's residential. And then there's, if we can go back to, and there's 3 more that are small projects. Zoom in, zoom in, so there you go. And that's the 2 all the way on the left side, which is 189 and 181, I think. Okay, that one. That's called the Compass Project. It's an applicant that submitted 3 different sites, these 2, and another site closer to Barnett. These are small, on the smaller side. These ones are going through the process. They're almost done as well, but they have placed them on hold until the cities work out the differences between the traffic concerns that
So
Paris
they are
has.
approved, but they haven't gone
They-
forward.
They're not approved yet.
They're not approved.
They're not
but
approved
They've
yet.
applied.
Yeah.
Okay.
That acreage next to that big, large square there, that doesn't look like it would even apply to AB 94 just due to the size of the property. Is that correct?
Because it would be less than 250.
It would be less than 250, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but since they applied before September, they will be exempt. Someone that applies, if they're less than 250, they will still require the 50-foot buffer if they were
which
close.
is part of our good neighbor policy right now.
Yeah, and also the AB 98 requires, if it's less than 250, requires a 50-foot buffer as well.
So one comment and one question. We'll do the question first. If I wanted to identify likely area, okay, first of all, North Gate is, the northern gateway is McLaughlin North to Ethanek, is that the border? What's the border?
McLaughlin, technically it's the north of the Edison easement, which is just north of McLaughlin,
Okay.
right? So,
Okay,
so
that's
north of
right here.
McLaughlin, obviously south of Itenac,
Okay,
and everything west of Barnett.
so if I wanted to identify, if we could zoom out a little, identify parcels that are unlikely to be a new warehouse, it would, first of all, the one between Hull and Murrieta looks like they could do that there, right? Because there's some little outbuildings, little houses, no big deal, but
There's a few homes, there's a few residential homes there.
That
You
wouldn't-
see those, exactly, you see those shaded, small shaded areas.
that's not gonna stop them, they'll go find something.
So,
pretty much we don't need to worry about the Floyd to Cuffle area, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And also on the west side of Geary, there's some more residential homes as well. If Floyd continues to the west, you see more residential homes on that south side of Floyd, right there.
Okay. So in your planning opinion, pretty much they're not gonna do that, but I know a lot of those people on Floyd and Cuffle wanted to sell. A lot of them had offers, some turned down, they're waiting for more money. Eventually, when this is built up and Ethanac's widen and we get all that good development going on there, in your opinion, would this make it more likely that the Cuffle Floyd area and just to the left of it would be smaller suites and things like that?
Obviously, if it's a warehouse, it's probably unlikely if it's a logistics facility because industrial developers, they don't do residential, so they're not gonna go in and construct residential at a 2-to-1 ratio. If it's a manufacturing facility, that obviously it's not a logistics, then they don't have that requirement, so that is a possibility.
Okay.
If it's the business park type of development, if it's commercial, then they don't have that requirement either.
Okay, that makes me feel better. So far, looking at these dark purple, blue, whatever they are, I'm half colorblind, so. We have sewer lines coming down from Ethanac now, or at least when they build these. We will have sewer lines coming down Byers, Gary, Murrieta, Hull, Evans, and what's that one to the left? No.
Hall?
No, to the right of Aaron Allen Drive, whatever that one is. So all of these will have the infrastructure coming down from Ethanac, right?
Most of them will. Geary may not because assuming Aries gets approved, sewer may be off of Marietta and not off of Geary. So they would bring it down Marietta if it's not there.
They'll bring it down Murrieta to connect below McLaughlin? Oh, okay. Because one of the arguments at the council meeting was, we don't need to do this because it's gonna stop them and we do need some because we need the infrastructure. That's the big argument here. So it looks like we're gonna get most of our infrastructure already with what we have. That's good. For the most part. Okay. What's the 175 and 169, the yellows? Are
Those are commercial.
commercial? And they're approved?
And the 169 is approved, 175, it's going through the process.
Commercial such as gas station?
175 is a gas station, and it has a retail building as well. I don't know, roughly 6,000 to 8,000 square feet retail.
Okay.
Detached from the convenience store.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
You got any more?
Michael?
All right, it's my turn. One thing I would like to be clarified is, I read the staff report. I was at the city council meeting 3 weeks ago. I've seen the presentation today, saw the presentation previously. So I know what the city is coming out with. I also looked at the summary from Rutan and Tucker. I read the bill. I read the cleanup bills, even though they don't apply here yet. With all that being said, the staff report is mentioning January 1st, 2025 as the effective date. Everywhere else I read said January 1st of 2026 is the effective date.
You're
In fact, I believe the fourth line of the bill on the front page is the effective date of January 1st, 2026. So where are we at?
That's correct.
So,
January 1st, 2026. That was
so even though there was a deadline back in September, there's a missing 15-month window between when everybody had to come in here, try to get things approved, and the actual date of no. As,
We got 6 months from it coming in.
yeah, now we do. Now we have 6 months. But it didn't come, it wasn't in effect 6 months ago, 5 months ago, on January 1st. Okay, so that's a typo.
We apologize for the confusion on that.
Oh, no, I'm okay. That's why I wanted the clarification. There's a January 1st, 2028 deadline to basically rewrite the general plan and make those truck circulation elements. Is that going to be an issue for Nick's department? That's a piece of cake, no big deal? Okay. SB 98, does that have any effect on the global traffic study or the current lawsuits? They can't hear you.
No, there's no,
Okay. I'm gonna save this question because I'm gonna bring it up later to Ty. The 2-to-1 replacement. It does say low income or affordable housing, not low income, but affordable housing. Can they drop a couple single wides on their current property and rent them out to their own employees?
The bill doesn't state, how they would be able to rent or sell these types of properties. That would be up to the owner.
Okay, but do they have like a cash in lieu of, I didn't see that in the bill, but can they say, you know what, we're gonna fund it, kind of like that, the penalty fund?
Like inclusionary zoning provisions?
Yeah, or where are they gonna buy one lot to possibly put one house on and an ADU on to meet the requirements if they just take out one property, existing
Commissioner,
property?
Unfortunately, I do not know the minds of the legislators. Some of these requirements are not, how do I say this? It's not
Clear.
fully baked. Some of them is not exactly tested just yet. But in other cases, there have been incidences in which, potentially in other jurisdictions, in which a developer might develop something that's 100% market rate and then buy another lot to build something affordable or help fund an affordable housing development. It's not clear yet. I don't know of any of these projects yet, and so we don't really know exactly how
So
it'll
we're
pan
looking at
out.
possibly a third cleanup bill, a third and fourth cleanup bill, possibly. on that
Well,
one.
as you
Because
saw with
it
ADUs,
hasn't happened yet.
yeah, as you saw with ADUs, there have been changes almost every year. So
Yeah. Okay.
Michael, you were making a point of, is there going to be like a in lieu fee, almost like a Quimby fee where they put, is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. I'm saying they reach out to Lennar and say, hey, I want to buy 2 properties, over in Cimarron Ridge. And then they purchase those properties and then they turn into landlords and make them affordable homes. There's all kinds of options I could see, but none of it's in the bill. I mean, the guy, I'm gonna be nice, and I'm just not gonna tell you about the city councilman who wrote this bill. So I won't. All right, here's another one. The project comes in, it's entitled for SB 94. It's approved, they have all the setbacks, they dot all their i's and cross all their t's, and they build a 94 conforming use. There's vacant property surrounded them. Romaland School District, 10 years down the line, decides, hey, I want to drop a school there. But it violates the conditions of AB 98. It violates those conditions. Is that particular existing AB 98 conforming property now grandfathered because of this, of a school insertion? Because the school is obviously a sensitive receptor. What happens with that happens, because if Bonta comes down, he's saying it's a $50,000 fine.
So again, unfortunately, this scenario is not played out, as to what would happen there. However, typically, there's a saying that you're coming to the nuisance in some ways, so you're not going to require, or typically you don't require existing uses to go back and retrofit unless there are any triggering events, such as expansions or changes and things like that. Depending on what the warehouse is, or whatever the uses are, it's also possible that the school might not choose to be next to that due to any potential truck traffic or anything. We don't know. The answer is we don't know yet. Yes, there's a lot of guesses right now as to how this will all work out.
Okay, wait till I get to you a little later. There'll be a lot of that, I have a feeling. Okay, that's it for now.
I have a question. Have we noted, since this bill's passage, have we noticed applicants pulling their applications?
No.
So that's because they're
But-
grandfathered, right?
Correct. And we haven't seen any new submittals either.
So looking at the conclusions, this looks like the anti-warehouse bill to me. So we're gonna have, it's gonna increase development costs, present significant challenges for logistics use profit project. It's gonna slow down warehouses. And I think that's what, the people that want that are gonna be happy. Yeah? Just a comment, you don't have to answer it. Okay, thank you. Any more questions, guys?
Yeah, I'll get back in the queue there.
Okay, so,
Hang on, I got more.
no, okay.
This is all for Ty, so.
Only easy ones,
But-
please.
But these are, okay, that's okay, go ahead.
Okay. Reading the definitions of logistics use, it's very clear. You guys highlighted some stuff in the staff report, or in the presentation. But we're talking buildings that move, or products are moved and stored for later distribution. That does not predominantly serve retail customers or on-site purchases. So I highlighted that term predominantly. And it says heavy-duty trucks are primarily involved. Primarily, I'm highlighting in the movement of the goods and products. Later on, heavy-duty truck is defined Class 7, Class 8 vehicle, 26,001 pounds or greater. So these are my questions, hypothetical development projects. All the names are real names that I'm going to use here. I got 4 possible scenarios. I haven't heard any rumors that these people are coming in. I'm just using them as examples. But TireRack.com, they're a business that deals with distributing tires to residents. You online order it or tire place across the street. Different tire manufacturers drop off tires from all the makers at their facility. Say they get 50 trucks a week from big rig 18-wheeler trucks. So they have 50 trucks coming in. But all their distribution is from the Mercedes Transit small vehicles. And they send out, 200, 300, 400 a week. So now the predominantly big rig traffic doesn't apply because it's mainly small, soon-to-be electric vehicles. Would the logistics definition apply?
In that case, just based on the limited information, probably not. But it also depends on the operations, because that's just talking about just the trucks, but are they storing? How are they storing?
they're
How
storing
long are they
tires.
storing? Right. So it's likely that, yes, there's an argument to say that it could be, but then you'd have to get into the details to argue why it's not.
But a developer can't come in, and this applies to all my examples here. If a developer comes in and names, they typically don't name a tenant. I've never heard of a tenant. I've heard of different words, but they've never named a tenant. If development were to come forward, we almost kind of have to, the developer would have to almost come in and say, this person, this company, in order to eliminate a lot of that discretion that because like we don't know, project comes in, we don't know that it's a logistics center, a manufacturer,
Well, you can.
unless they actually say that.
One comment about that is you kind of can, because these logistics centers have 100 doors.
My
A
building-
manufacturing will have 4 or 5.
The building I work in right now has 50 doors,
Yeah,
and there's no distribution.
no
At all.
distribution.
So they've actually converted, now I'll say another one later, they converted the doors to chiller yards, generator yards, things like that. Okay, so that's another iffy.
So just with something like that, potentially, in implementing this, right? A developer comes in with a type of use in mind, though not, we've seen so many of those, and they're not exactly sure what they might want, but they do generally tailor the development to a targeted use. So, if they do have, let's say they're looking to do manufacturing and they're trying to get a logistics tenant, they're going to have to comply with AB 98, right, depending on the size of the development. I think that's going to be the difficulty for a lot of these developers. That's why there is such strong pushback and concern. But again, we don't know exactly how it'll really all be implemented and how developers will come to cities and say, what they want to do. They might have to change their model in doing these types of applications. It's not clear yet. It'll be up to the industry to figure out what will be best for them in the development process for these types of industrial uses.
All right, I'll continue here, and I'm gonna try to wrap this up fairly quick. Another possible use is Orbit Sprinkler Company. They want a 500,000 square foot building, hypothetically. They plan to manufacture their products on site. They got big rigs coming in, delivering the polypropylene, or whatever it's called, the pellets to mold plastic. They manufacture everything there. Then they also distribute. But 70% of the building is manufacturing, and the rest is the storage, the warehouse, shipping and receiving, going outdoors. Would that fall under AB 98 because it's predominantly manufacturing, yet there's still a distribution use or logistical use?
So if I recall correctly, there's no definition of predominant in the bill.
No, there's not. It
Right,
just
so
says
we'd
that
have
word.
to, we'd have to make that determination. Now, it could be, I'm sure, a variety of factors that staff would have to take into account. The amount of time, for each type of use, whether it's manufacturing, storage, or distribution, how many vehicles for each of those things, how many employees they employ for each of those. Yeah, how long something is stored. There's just a lot of factors that, frankly, the city and as well as the state is probably going to have to figure out in order to determine whether something is predominantly distribution, logistics. Excuse me. So the answer is we don't know yet with any of these scenarios because any scenario you give to me, unless it's like an Amazon warehouse or something like that. Especially when it's like multi-use or, they're combining everything together, it's really gonna require, I think, a very fact-based analysis of that specific use. And that might require more information from a developer than they're necessarily used to when they come for these types of applications.
All right, because one of the things I noticed, and I'm trying to read the councilman's minds, is when this was presented to them, it looked like this was going to kill everything. I think Randy just said a moment ago, this is going to kill everything. Whatever the buildings are, whatever, I'm for, I like the job creation. I actually like the low-paying entry-level jobs because everybody's got to start somewhere. But the way it was kind of presented or interpreted was, we're going to lose up there, and because of this assembly bill. And I just want to make sure that there's other options, that we could still have logistical use, but like we don't have a definition of predominantly. I think I'm just looking at like, you know, because I want eventually more developers to fill in like all the bottom stuff. That a lot of that stuff, it doesn't make sense to drive down Hull to go to a Sam's Club. You know, if something like that comes in there, or, you know, go down Gary to a Trader Joe's. You know, those kind of places need to have prominent frontage on Ethernet. So, but I also don't want all this spot building 20 years down the line. I want it, my vision, fill that whole thing up. And I just want to make sure that as today, AB 98, it does hamper some development, but it won't hamper all development. And so that's my concern about it. So thank you for your wisdom of uncertainty. Thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
one other question after you, Randy.
No, I was just going to thank Michael for his questions. Go ahead, Chris.
So, under the definition of AB 98 of logistical use, can we pull up the definition here? Can we go to the actual definition that was on one of the slides? Okay. Building which cargo goods are produced, are moved and stored for later distribution to business or retail customers. So, if Tire Rack comes in, you order online, you order, 4 tires, and you can have it delivered to your house, or you go, I guess, or whatever. Or will call. That is not Amazon or Reynolds, like off the 215, where it's primarily meant for distribution to the Lowe's and the Ralphs and things. My question is, which one of those do we get sales tax revenue on? Because of the end use, remember there's the new law that says where the end final lands, we get the sales tax. So on a strictly, purely distribution warehouse, we aren't getting a dime. But on the Tire Rack, we would, wouldn't we? Because it's considered end use, isn't it? Ultimate destination?
Probably, but I'd have to double check on that.
Well, what for sure type of uses do we get the sales tax revenue on?
Brick and mortar retail stores.
Okay, brick and mortars. But the big hubbub was when they changed the law, the final destination city gets the sales tax rather than the city where you ordered it from, how it used to be. So has the city here, has Menifee been getting any additional sales tax revenue because of the change in that law?
That's what saved Menifee during COVID. We apparently got a ton of online sales.
Well, is that because it went to people's houses?
So I can't answer, I don't think any of us here can directly answer that question for Menifee specifically. However, I do understand that, with the increase, for example, during COVID with online sales, a lot of cities that had a lot of online sales did increase such revenue.
But that was to homes.
Yes, you're ordering it to homes.
To homes.
Yes.
So
when you put when you're buying on Amazon, if you put in your zip code, that's the sales tax. Where it's the same thing with your car. Wherever your car is registered is where you're paying the taxes and fees, not where you actually bought it.
Where you actually bought it from. So, in relation to this whole discussion in the Northern Gateway, if a Tire Rack or a other use, if it's 500,000 square feet, whatever, but the main purpose is not to go to other stores, but to go with these little vans to people in Menifee or Paris, whatever. Are those considered logistics if they are considered I guess they're not final destination, they're
called last mile.
Last mile, okay, last mile. If it's a last mile facility and it's 500 square feet, is it technically a logistical use as per this definition?
So I can make the argument that is not.
Okay.
But, you know, when you're looking at, for example, right, this is how it potentially look at it. It says the buildings in which cargo goods or products are moved or stored for later distribution, right, to business or retail, ... and heavy-duty trucks are primarily involved in the movement of those cargo goods and products. Heavy-duty trucks are not going to be used, I believe, to move those products to people's homes.
An Amazon van is not, or a FedEx van
I
is
don't
not
believe that
considered
falls under
heavy
that
duty.
definition. It's those big 26,000
Okay.
pound,
Okay.
cars. So that would be the argument, right? You're saying, well, actually, no, those big, 18-wheelers or whatever are not the ones that are they're moving the cargo goods and products for later distribution or for storage to businesses or retail customers. And that would be our argument. Someone else who wants to challenge an industrial development might argue otherwise, and unfortunately, we don't have, I think, yes, exactly. We don't have any case law, and I have a feeling that as, things move forward, the legislature will start to kind of clarify some of these definitions or place guardrails on them. But, the comment earlier about potentially hampering industrial uses of these types is true. It's in the legislative findings, it's in the analysis and the reports, and those jurisdictions that are being most affected by this are the ones with those extremely large logistics, or, distribution centers.
And there is no question for last mile locations, so it goes here, online, Tire Rack, say, and Tire Rack uses little bitty FedEx type trucks to deliver to people's houses. City doesn't get any sales tax on that facility, right? They get it on the house that it's going to, or do we get last mile sales tax?
I think it's to the homes,
Just to the home?
it's the homes where it's being purchased.
Okay, cool, thank you.
But we can follow up with finance just to confirm, if you'd like.
I say that in the vein of, I could live with a 500,000 square foot facility that's doing that if we got some revenue out of it, right? You're getting an offset for it. But if it's just strictly big trucks coming in to move it to another location, that's
I do also just want to follow up on my last comment about, definition of logistics use, right? Someone can come in and argue that, look, these cargo goods or products are being stored at the facility and they are being moved to the facility with heavy-duty trucks. Again, there's just so many arguments to be made, and it's going to be very fact-specific depending on whatever the development is going to have or the use is going to have. Very much is going to be a little bit of a wait and see, and hopefully these new bills will do some better clarification for the jurisdictions affected. Well, all the jurisdictions, really.
If I may, sorry, may I? I just, this is the challenge with this legislation and so many others that, there's a lot of ambiguity and, it needs to be sorted out and not very easy for, unfortunately, the local jurisdictions to implement. So just wanted to add that.
Well, we appreciate being on the ground floor here and you introducing this to us. Thank
Sure.
you. We have faith in you guys. You'll figure it out. The zoning too. Any more questions, commissioners? Michael, Chris, Tammy?
I'm done.
Okay. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received on this item, and are there requests to speak?
No correspondence and no requests to speak.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so this is a receive and file item, so no action is required. Thank you again, planners. Now we're at number 11, Community Development Director comments. Community Development Director, do you have any updates or comments?
No comments today. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner reports. Does the Planning Commission have anything to report on committee activities, Michael?
I had to work a lot this past 2 weeks, but I still managed to go to a few places. On May 31st, I went to the Special Needs Programs Informational Meeting. On June 6th, I went to Menifee's Got Talent. Last Saturday, I met with Natasha Johnson and at least got her ear and, you know, about if she wins, will she ignore us because she's more another city, or do we have her ear? And she let me know that we can contact her anytime, so that's
job,
good
Michael.
to know.
Good job.
And last night, I went to the All Abilities Night at Storm Stadium, and it looks like our chaperone back there, I spent 2 of those with him, so thank you. That's all I got.
Chris, anything? Tammy? All right. Okay, we'll move us on to commissioners. Would you like to request any future agenda items?
Pardon me. I don't know. I'm going to word this the way I wrote it down, but I don't know if it's a future agenda item or a request from staff, but that map that IT presented earlier, 179, 163 with all those, that map, I look at that map a lot to find out what's coming, where things are at. But say like every 2 months, quarterly, can we receive a spreadsheet with updates on all those projects? Because up until recently, that map on the city's website was 5 or 6 months old, if not older. Just so I know, I got a project right by my house. I don't know what's going on with it unless I knock on their door and say, why don't you have your electricity yet? So I don't know if that's possible, if that's something we can request from staff.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, we can provide some updates at future meetings, but that map shouldn't be older than 3 months. We try to update it quarterly, so it should be every 3 months should be the oldest that map should be out there.
But like some of them just say plan and review, or under plan and review, under construction. But like for the project as mentioned, there's no update. And why isn't there an update? I'm not saying it's your fault, but it's just, why is the project sitting there? And so if you know more than I know, and I can come and bother you, but I don't want to bother you with 173 different projects. So, I mean, I know you probably have it already in a spreadsheet form. If we can just have access to it, you know.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And my second item, and once again, I don't know if it's a future agenda item or just something you guys can present to us. And I don't know how or who or any of this will happen as far as staff, consultants, outside agencies, or what. But in all the gateways, can we get restrictive maps where they show the blue line areas, where they show floodplains, where they show easements, where they show, we just looked at the Northern Gateway and everybody overlooks the federal protection item that's in that area. And I'm not going to go any clearer because I don't want to put it on the public record.
A lot of that, you can go to Map My County. I use it every day at work. It's a county GIS website, and it has different layers. You can click, it'll turn on blue line, it'll streams, it'll turn on planning maps, it'll turn on anything. You guys, I assume you use it. It's free.
We do.
It's called Map My County. Type in Map My County, and you can do anything you want with it.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
That answers my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Good. We had a planning commissioner request on seeing the global traffic study, and that was several months ago.
That's correct. The study is not completed at this point. Well, it is complete. Both Paris and Menifee, they're doing their final review on it, so we expect that it's gonna complete it fairly soon.
And that was done exclusively, well, because of errors, right? Because they're on, so they're still on hold. Okay, just checking.
In relation to that global study, is the purpose of it to show impacts on each side, Menifee and Paris, and thus calculate a shared cost on the infrastructure on Ethanac, or what are we doing with it? What's the ultimate?
The main purpose for that study was to identify all the impacts of potential development that was gonna be generated along the northern side of Menifee and the south side of Paris, and how are those impacts were going to either be mitigated, or how developers were gonna be required to provide mitigations to improve any potential impacts.
Is that being used as a negotiation item in the current legislation, the current lawsuits of Paris against Menifee at all?
No.
No, not listed as a factor or anything, okay.
Oh, that's just an agreement between the two cities. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I'll adjourn this meeting.